What began as a calm Sunday morning in St. Paul quickly spiraled into tragedy as a harrowing 911 call broke the silence and left a neighborhood shaken.
State Patrol 911.
Someone's trying to break into my home.
What city are you in? St. Paul?
I'm in St. Paul.
Hang on just a second.
1794.
1794 what?
911, what is your emergency?
State with
1794. Minnehaha Avenue.
Minnehaha. Someone's trying west? Somebody's trying to break in her house.
This was the voice of 25-year-old Heidi Firkus reaching out for help in what would become her final moments. What really happened to Heidi Firkus that morning? Was the danger she feared truly outside? Or was it much closer to home? Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories, where I explore true crime with the utmost care and respect for the victims while make it bearable for my community. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps me continue bringing these important stories to you. Now, settle in and let's begin. Heidi Firkus was born December 14, 1984, in Roseville, Minnesota, where she grew up as the youngest of 3 siblings in a loving and supportive family. Creative and compassionate, Heidi had a passion for painting. She excelled in academics and thrived in activities like basketball, tennis, and choral music. Heidi's commitment to her faith was unwavering, becoming a youth group leader at Calvary Church in Roseville and participating in mission trips. It was at Calvary Church where Heidi met Nicholas Firkus, a fellow youth group leader and devout community member. Their shared values and interests sparked a connection, and by August 2003, the two began dating. Heidi's parents admired Nicholas's character and wholeheartedly supported their union. In 2005, Heidi and Nick tied the knot and started their life together in St. Paul. As newlyweds, they embraced their shared love for the outdoors. Camping, hiking, and biking brought them joy. In 2007, they purchased a house at 1794 West Minnehaha Avenue, which Heidi poured her artistic talents into decorating, while Nick managed the financial responsibilities. Their life seemed promising and stable. By 2010, Nick worked as a director at a carpet cleaning company, while Heidi balanced her career at a financial services firm and her devotion to her church. However, beneath the surface of their seemingly ordinary lives, fate was quietly unraveling. On the morning of April 25, 2010, a frantic 911 call shattered the quiet of St. Paul, Minnesota. Heidi Firkus, her voice trembling with fear, reported that someone was trying to break into her home on Minnehaha Avenue. "Someone's trying to break into my home," she said, her words filled with urgency. But less than a minute into the call, a piercing scream echoed through the line, followed by abrupt silence. Attempts to reconnect were unsuccessful. Minutes later, another call came from the same phone. This time, it was Heidi's husband, Nicholas Firkus, on the line.
State Patrol 911.
Please, somebody has broken out. You shot me.
Okay, are you in St. Paul, sir? Okay, let me get you right in there. Hold on one second. Okay, hold on a sec.
Hello?
No!
Can you tell me where you are?
What? I've been shot.
You've been shot?
Yes, please.
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay.
Who shot you?
I don't know. Somebody broke into my house. No!
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay? Do not hang up.
His voice was desperate as he relayed the horrifying news. Both he and Heidi had been shot. Police were already en route to the scene. When officers arrived, they found the front door slightly ajar, the distinct smell of gunpowder lingering in the air. Inside the kitchen, Heidi lay motionless on her back, her feet pointing toward the entrance. Blood stained her hair and face, and she showed no signs of life. Nearby, Nicholas sat on the floor, speaking with the 911 operator. He had a gunshot wound to his upper left leg. A shotgun rested on the floor near the front door, which bore visible damage from shotgun pellets. The emergency team arrived. Heidi was pronounced dead at the scene, while Nicholas was taken to the hospital for treatment. Later that same day, He was stable enough to be taken to the police station for questioning, and where he recounted in detail what had unfolded that morning, at least according to his account.
And then what happens next then?
Well, because I get up for work about 6 every morning,
Yeah.
I kind of got up, but we didn't need to be up until about 9 to go to church. So I got up and went and got a glass of water from the bathroom.
Okay, so you woke up about what time do you think?
About 6 a.m. Go back to sleep, but just kind of fitfully sleep for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I heard the screen door open.
And like, what are they doing? They just go like this?
Yeah.
Kind of like that?
Yeah, just shaking the knob and
Okay.
shutting the door.
All right.
So what I did is I grabbed my shotgun out of the closet,
Okay.
and then I wake up Heidi.
Okay.
I said, Heidi, somebody's fiddling with our knob and trying to get into our house. So let's get your shoes on and let's go out to the garage. Let's get out of here. And so I said, call 911, and then let's head to the garage.
Okay. All right. So, she called 911 then?
She called it.
On the stairs, because the stairs are
You're coming here.
You're coming down this way.
We turn left.
Yep.
She swipes her wallet off the console table.
So like the console table's right here.
Perfect.
That.
And then beelines it to the... As soon as she grabs it,
Yep.
the door opens.
Okay.
And so I have a gun in my left.
Yep.
And so I try to shove the door shut, but it gets forced open. And the guy that was there, I think he saw it.
Yeah.
I think he grabbed the barrel. And
Like down towards the trigger? Or?
more towards the top.
Yeah. What did this guy look like? Is he a white guy, black guy, Asian guy?
I think he was a black guy. I remember exactly what happened, but the gun went off. So my fingers slipped onto the trigger.
You and I are like this.
Yeah.
And then the gun goes off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it goes off down?
Yeah, I mean, I know it hit Heidi. I know it did.
Okay.
I know it did. I don't know where it hit her, but I know it
Did it
hit her.
hit her in the chest, the back?
She was running away, so it definitely hit her in the back.
It hit her in the back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I grabbed on my right and pulled
Okay.
like that, and that's when it went off the second time and hit me in the leg.
So you shoot yourself then, or is this?
I don't know if it was me, myself, or if it was the guy. I honestly don't remember at that time.
After you get shot, what happens next then?
He's gone.
He takes off up the track.
I fall down. He's gone.
All right. Now, are you bleeding a lot, or?
I don't even know him.
Okay.
According to Nick, he and Heidi were asleep in their upstairs bedroom when he woke up around 6 o'clock to get a glass of water. As he returned to bed, he heard noises at the front door. He described hearing the screen door open, followed by sounds of the doorknob being tampered with. Alarmed, he grabbed a shotgun from the closet, woke Heidi, and told her to call 911 while preparing to escape to their detached garage. Nick explained that as they descended the stairs, the front door was forced open, and a stranger entered. In the chaos, Nick claimed to wrestle with the intruder while Heidi ran toward the back door. Tragically, during the struggle, a shotgun fired, striking Heidi in the back. A second shot injured Nick's leg as the intruder fled through the front door. Detectives listened closely but harbored doubts about Nick's story. They questioned him directly about any involvement in his wife's death, to which Nick adamantly denied, insisting he and Heidi had shared a happy marriage. He revealed they had been dealing with personal struggles, including impending foreclosure on their home, but claimed they had been planning their next steps together. As police delved deeper into the case, doubts and unanswered questions lingered. The interview brought forward more details, but the truth of what truly happened that morning remained elusive. The tragedy left investigators and the community grappling with unanswered questions. Despite the fatal attack, there were no clear signs of a home invasion. The front door had 2 locks, a deadbolt and a lower lock. Tool marks were found near the lower lock, but the deadbolt remained untouched. Items on a table near the door, including a beer bottle and a receipt, were undisturbed. Nothing appeared stolen, and there were no signs of a violent struggle inside the house. The autopsy of Heidi Firkus revealed the devastating injuries she sustained, a single shotgun wound to her back that caused extensive damage, piercing her spine, ribs, lung, and vital organs. In contrast, Nick's injury was non-life-threatening, consisting of a gunshot wound to his upper left thigh, causing only localized soft tissue damage. As the St. Paul police began piecing together the events, they canvassed the neighborhood, asking residents if they had noticed anything unusual. One neighbor reported hearing a car screeching away around 6:20 a.m., describing the vehicle as leaving the area quickly. Another neighbor mentioned hearing a loud noise around the same time but oddly, did not recall hearing gunshots. In the aftermath of Heidi Firkus's tragic death, her husband Nick revealed startling secrets about their life. Behind their outwardly ordinary facade lay financial troubles that had snowballed into catastrophe. Nick confessed to investigators that their home was in foreclosure, and an eviction was scheduled for the very next day. This revelation stunned the police, and later their friends and family, as the couple had kept this looming crisis entirely private. Nick claimed the plan was to pack their belongings on Sunday and Monday morning, store items temporarily in the garage, and seek accommodation with friends or at a hotel. He also alleged fraudulent activity in their bank account, further complicating the financial picture. These disclosures prompted investigators to delve deeper into the couple's financial history. Detectives uncovered that Nick and Heidi had purchased their home in 2007 for $250,000, using two mortgages, one with a monthly payment of $1,300 and another with a $250 payment. The last payment on either mortgage was made in September 2008, nearly 2 years before the murder. In April 2009, Nick received foreclosure documents, which were later found in his car during a search. By June 2009, the house had been sold at auction, and eviction proceedings began. Despite multiple offers from the law firm handling the foreclosure, including cash incentives to vacate the property, Nick did not comply. He even attended the eviction hearing alone without Heidi and signed an agreement to vacate by March 22, 2010. But when the couple failed to leave, the law firm scheduled a lockout for April 9, 2010. Just days before the lockout, Nick requested an extension, citing his grandmother's health, a claim investigators later found had no evidence to support it. What baffled police further was the lack of preparation for eviction. The house showed no signs of packing. Pictures remained on the walls, food filled the refrigerator, clothes were neatly stored, and furniture was untouched. Not even boxes were present, raising suspicions about Nick's claims. Financial troubles extended beyond the foreclosure. Nick and Heidi had amassed significant debt, including unpaid utility bills and credit card balances. At the time of Heidi's death, they owed $1,736 to U.S. Bank and $17,381 on an REI credit card. A closer review revealed that Nick had charged 2.4 times more on their credit cards than Heidi during 2008 and 2009. As investigators pieced together the puzzle, a troubling realization emerged. Heidi may have been unaware of the full extent of their financial struggles. Her family, shocked by the revelation, said they hadn't known about the foreclosure until after her death. They believed Heidi was in the dark about the eviction, as Nick had taken sole responsibility for managing the household's finances. The weight of these discoveries added a new layer of complexity to an already harrowing case, raising more questions about what led to Heidi's tragic end. In the months leading up to her tragic death, Heidi Firkus confided in her parents about an issue with her and Nick's bank account. While the details remained unclear, Heidi expressed frustration, mentioning that the bank had mishandled their account. However, Heidi's parents were unaware of the full extent of the couple's struggles. They knew only that Heidi and Nick were searching for a new home, with Heidi mentioning the possibility of renting a temporary place. Nick, present during the conversation, stayed silent. In the weeks before her death, Heidi had also discussed the idea of a short sale for their home, a common practice for financially distressed homeowners to sell their property before foreclosure. But Heidi's reasoning was different. She shared her hopes of starting a family and her desire to move from their home, citing safety concerns about the steep staircase and unease about the neighborhood. Unbeknownst to her, the home was no longer theirs to sell, as it had already gone into foreclosure. These revelations suggested that Heidi might have been in the dark about the dire financial troubles they were facing. Heidi's family firmly believed that, had she known about their financial problems, she would have confided in them or sought their help. Friends noted that despite an appearance of an extravagant lifestyle, stress seemed to linger around the couple. Heidi, however, showed no visible signs of awareness, maintaining her characteristic optimism. One friend recalled going shopping with Heidi the day before her death. Heidi seemed excited as she looked for a dress for an upcoming wedding and made plans for Sunday, despite the looming eviction scheduled for the same day. These details cast doubt on Nick's credibility. Seeking further clarity, detectives examined text messages and emails between Heidi and Nick. They found no mention of the foreclosure, eviction proceedings, or any urgency to vacate the house. Instead, Heidi had sent a message to a friend in March 2010 expressing a casual desire to relocate, if not for their current home. All communications with the law firm handling the foreclosure were exclusively with Nick. Heidi's name appeared on no documents. In emails from March and April 2010, Heidi often asked Nick to handle calls she had received. Nick reassured her that everything was under control, claiming he was in contact with the bank about an audit involving fraud on their account and that their credit scores were intact. In truth, no such audit occurred, and there was no evidence of fraud. Despite mounting evidence of deceit, detectives struggled to establish a clear motive for Heidi's death. A thorough investigation of Nick's financial accounts revealed no apparent monetary gain or personal benefit from her murder. In their search for answers, detectives attempted to reconstruct the events of that morning, testing Nick's claim that he had heard jingling noises from the front door while upstairs. On April 27, 2010, investigators conducted a test to determine if the noises could be audible from the couple's upstairs bedroom. Using the same home setup, they simulated the sounds of the door and its knob being tampered with. Unfortunately, the results were inconclusive. This setback only deepened the mystery surrounding Heidi's untimely death, leaving detectives frustrated in their pursuit of the truth. Nick Firkus initially cooperated, providing DNA samples and answering questions. However, weeks later, he hired attorney Joe Friedberg, who advised him to cease communication with the police. Friedberg maintained that Nick was a grieving widower and victim, not a suspect. Following this advice, Nick declined to respond to further police inquiries, deepening tensions in the case. In a surprising twist, Friedberg approached the police with a composite sketch of the alleged intruder created with the help of a private artist. Detectives found it peculiar that Nick opted for a private sketch artist rather than using police resources, especially given his earlier statement that he hadn't gotten a clear look at the intruder. The sketch depicted a middle-aged man with a dark complexion, big eyes, and wearing a hoodie. Despite their skepticism, authorities released the sketch to the media, hoping for leads. The sketch soon caught the attention of St. Paul police, who noted its resemblance to a suspect in a recent series of high-profile burglaries. These crimes, involving break-ins while homeowners were present, had garnered significant media attention. The suspect was identified as Michael Lee Pye, but investigators quickly hit a wall. Pye was already in prison at the time of Heidi's death. Despite interviewing him, police ruled Pye out as a suspect. Detectives suspected Nick might have drawn inspiration from media coverage of Pye to fabricate the sketch, but this theory alone wasn't enough to implicate him. Forensic evidence added more layers to the case. Ballistics confirmed that both shots had been fired from Nick's shotgun, aligning with his claim about the weapon used. However, the bullet trajectory of Heidi's wound did not match Nick's description of events. The absence of unidentified DNA at the crime scene further raised doubts about the presence of an intruder. The only DNA found belonged to Nick or Heidi. Investigators began to wonder if the crime had been committed from within the household. Speculation grew about Nick's possible motives. Detectives consider the possibility that Nick may have misled Heidi for years, hiding their financial struggles and creating the illusion of stability. Perhaps Heidi was on the verge of uncovering the truth, pushing Nick to desperate measures. However, without concrete evidence, these theories remained unproven. As months turned into years, Heidi's family continued advocating for justice despite the investigation reaching a standstill. Public opinion was divided. Some firmly believed Nick's innocence, convinced an intruder was responsible, while others suspected Nick played a role in Heidi's death. Over time, Nick distanced himself further from the investigation, refusing contact from police and media. His lawyer argued that the financial troubles were exaggerated by authorities. With no significant breakthroughs, the case gradually went cold. While Nick remained a potential suspect, police never gathered enough evidence to formally charge him, leaving the haunting mystery of Heidi's death unresolved. In the years following Heidi Firkus's tragic death, Nick Firkus began moving on with his life. Just 3 months after the incident, he met Rachel Watson, leveraging his recent tragedy to gain her affection. Rachel was connected to Nick through her sister Sarah, who had been a close friend of Heidi. Believing Nick to be an honorable and devoted husband, Rachel started a romantic relationship with him, and Sarah encouraged the pairing. In August 2012, after a year of dating, Nick and Rachel married. The couple built a life together, welcoming 3 children and appearing outwardly happy. Financial challenges, however, soon emerged again. Due to Nick's poor credit score, his parents purchased their new home, and Nick agreed to make monthly mortgage payments to them, as well as handle property taxes. This arrangement unraveled when Rachel discovered a foreclosure notice due to unpaid taxes. Alarmed, Rachel couldn't help but draw parallels to the financial turmoil that surrounded Heidi's death. Rachel's concern deepened as Nick became distant, displaying behaviors she no longer recognized. Fearful of his potential, she eventually confronted him and recorded their conversation, hoping for a confession. While Nick denied any wrongdoing, Rachel's suspicions remained and her fear grew. By 2019, the constant worry consumed Rachel, leading to their divorce. That same year, Sergeant Nicole Sipes of the St. Paul Police Department decided to revisit the unsolved case of Heidi Firkus's death. Collaborating with the FBI, Sipes reconstructed the 911 call audio, searching for signs of a third person in the home. The analysis raised significant concerns. Heidi's 911 call contained no mention of an intruder or signs of struggle, and Nick's subsequent call included the sound of police arriving, casting doubt on his timeline. Ballistics tests and a virtual reconstruction of the scene further suggested that the gunshots were intentional, not accidental. During the reinvestigation, Sipes contacted Rachel, who provided additional insights into her suspicions and fears. Sipes believed Rachel narrowly escaped a similar fate as Heidi, fueling her determination to gather enough evidence for justice. By May 2021, after nearly a decade of investigation, police had accumulated substantial evidence to charge Nick Firkus with the murder of his first wife. He was arrested at his home in Mounds View, Minnesota, and booked into Ramsey County Jail. The trial began in January 2023, marking the most high-profile case of the careers of prosecutors Elizabeth Lamon and Rachel Cracker. They presented their theory to the jury, suggesting that on April 25, 2010, Nick had awakened Heidi around 6:30 a.m. claiming to hear an intruder. Sleepy and frightened, Heidi followed him downstairs, where she called 911. Then, as Heidi turned her back, Nick shot her, before wounding himself in the leg to stage the scene and reinforce the illusion of a home invasion. Prosecutor Elizabeth Lamon emphasized that Nick was overwhelmed by guilt, shame, and the pressure of their dire financial situation, which had reached a breaking point. He was desperate, Lamon argued, and reality was about to come crashing down on him. In contrast, defense attorney Richmond countered this narrative, questioning whether a devoted husband would murder the love of his life to avoid the embarrassment of foreclosure. He also pointed out the absence of financial gain for Nick, asserting that such a motive was unconvincing. Would he really choose the death of his wife over surviving temporary embarrassment? Despite these efforts, the jury found Nick Firkus guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. On February 10, 2023, after just 4 hours of deliberations, the jury convicted Nick of murdering his wife Heidi. His supporters continued to maintain his innocence, with some claiming it was unthinkable that Nick could be capable of such a crime. However, on April 13, 2023, nearly 13 years after Heidi's death, Nick was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Heidi's brother Peter Erickson delivered an emotional victim impact statement, sharing how the family struggled for years to find closure. He spoke about the lies that had been told and the toll they took. The realization quickly set in that everything Nick was telling us betrayed who I knew my sister to be. Nick Firkus, for his part, maintained his innocence. "I will maintain to my dying breath my innocence of this crime," he declared, adding, "My body is condemned to serve for another man's crime, but my soul is free." For Heidi's parents, John and Linda Erickson, the conviction brought solace after years of heartbreak and unanswered questions. They expressed their gratitude to everyone who had fought for justice. Thank you for watching this true crime documentary. Cases like Heidi's remind us why it's so important to continue telling these stories, to seek justice and keep the memories of the victims alive. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support truly means the world to me, and it helps ensure that cases like Heidi Firkus are never forgotten. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next story.